Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, I thought that I would review this video. I like to review some of the other boxing channels just to see what they have to say and to see overall if I believe that they're taking a logical and objective approach. Because my approach, hopefully, at least in my mind, is very logical and very objective because that's the way I like to be. Anyway, there's this one channel out there called the IBFP, and the majority of the channels that I see out there are usually LDBC or new media, which really all that means is pro-black media. But when it comes down to it, this man right here seems to actually be waging a war against the LDBC and against new media, which is interesting. But one of the videos that he did not too long ago, or well, probably quite a while ago, but sometime this year, uh, was that he said that Deontay Wilder is a hype job. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it just kind of got in my mind. And, after a fighter loses, everyone always wants to call that fighter a hype job or say that they were no good and all this other stuff. People love saying that. I've seen it with Vasyl Lomachenko recently. I've seen it with Golovkin. I've seen it with Anthony Joshua. I've seen it with Deontay Wilder. I even seen it with Manny Pacquiao after Manny Pacquiao lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr. That 1 year back in 2015. It happens with everybody, or at least almost everybody. But when it comes down to it overall, we're going to review this video. We're going to see what he has to say, and let's get into it.
Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing News.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Fanboys, be advised, this video contains the absolute truth, may cause hurt feelings, and the need to thumbs down the video. Look, let's just break it down and be honest about it. Deontay Wilder is a hype job. Tyson Fury cannot be the number one heavyweight in the division based off of that win alone. It makes no sense. And look, we did...
Well, that's the problem. First of all, you said two things that I don't agree with. First of all, do I believe that Deontay Wilder is a hype job? No, personally, I do not. Now, do I believe he is an A-plus fighter? No. You have A-class fighters, B-class fighters, C-class fighters. Deontay Wilder is an A-class fighter. He's just not an A-plus fighter. It is what it is. I guess we'll see what he truly is if he starts facing these other top contenders like an Andrew Ruiz and a Dillian White. And now, if I had to guess, he most likely would beat fighters like that. But who knows? There's a possibility that they could defeat Deontay Wilder as well, because Deontay, to be quite real with you, has not really fought a lot of the top contenders in his career. I mean, he does not have a very good resume for 40-something fights, and a lot of people are not going to like that, and that's why I really don't pay much attention to his 41 knockouts. I believe it's 41 knockouts, and his 10 title defenses. People can get mad at that all they want to. You got these Deontay Wilder fans saying, oh, Deontay is one of the all-time great heavyweights. He has 10 title defenses and blah, 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 and 41 knockouts. Well, no offense, but who really did that come against? Dominic Brazil, Artur Spilska, Bermain Stavern, Chris Arreola, and I was about to say fat Chris Arreola, but he's always been fat. Pretty much busted up and, what's the word that I'm looking for? Done Chris Arreola, I guess, washed up Chris Arreola, if you want to say that. I don't think it would have mattered anyway, but you know what I mean. Deontay Wilder has not really defeated a lot of top opponents. In fact, to be quite honest with you, for his 10 title defenses, he pretty much beat bottom of the barrel opponents. And a lot of people are not going to like that, but it is what it is. But when you take a look at Tyson Fury, do I believe that he is the number one heavyweight in the world? Yes, I do. And the reason why I say that is because not only do I believe he has the best skill set, but when it comes down to the overall, Tyson Fury, you could debate, has the best resume there. Now, you also could debate that Anthony Joshua has the best resume there. Because when it comes to who has more top contenders, Anthony Joshua does have more top contenders. He has Joseph Parker on there, Andrew Ruiz, Alexander Povetkin, now Kubrat Pulev. He has Dillian White on there, and even Vladimir Klitschko. But the thing is, overall with Tyson Fury, is that he beat Vladimir Klitschko when Klitschko was probably in A-plus form, and he beat Deontay Wilder when Deontay Wilder was pretty much at his best as well. And Anthony Joshua beat a very good version of Vladimir Klitschko too. Let's not make excuses and say that, oh, he was 40-some years old. He beat a very good version of Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko would have not put up that good of a fight if Vladimir Klitschko did not have a little bit left in his career. So it is what it is. Excuse me. But anyway, so in my opinion, if you want to base it off a resume and skill set, you could have very highly debate that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world. Right now, it has to come down to either Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. One of the two, but in my opinion, it would be Tyson Fury.
Right into ESPN's current rankings, they have Tyson Fury as the #1 heavyweight in the division. They have Anthony Joshua at #2, and only a fanboy, based on the facts, would put Tyson Fury as the #1 heavyweight in the division. I understand that people were in awe about what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder, but we got to be honest about it. Deontay Wilder was a hype job, and they're giving Tyson Fury simply too much credit for that victory. So we're going to break it down with facts and never feelings like we always do. And then we even get into Tyson Fury's own statements where he comes out and states that, and this is when he reflects on beating Deontay Wilder by TKO and stating, I'm the greatest fighter that's ever lived. Even he believes his own hype. Believing that, since he beat Deontay Wilder by TKO, who's a hype job, he's the greatest fighter that's ever lived. And ESPN is buying it because they have the guy at #1 based on that fight alone. Beating Deontay Wilder does not make you the #1 heavyweight in the division. I am sorry.
Well, the bottom line is this. Anthony Joshua does not have any win on his record, at least debatably, that is as big as the Deontay Wilder win in Tyson Fury's career. Because Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, is an A-class fighter. Now, excuse me, if one were to argue that version of Vladimir Klitschko that, Anthony Joshua fought is near on the same level as Deontay Wilder at that time, you could argue that, and a lot of people are going to disagree with that. But when you take a look at Vladimir Klitschko, to be quite honest with you, if Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder had fought on that night, I'm not sure who would have won that fight. Because Vladimir Klitschko can hit, he can box, although he is a little bit robot-esque, That fight would have been interesting. Even that version of Vladimir Klitschko, I'm not sure how that fight would have turned out. That would have been very interesting. But anyway.
Let's be honest and unbiased. And then, you get to Tyson Fury's own words. For all the people that don't believe me, for all the people that think that Deontay Wilder is not a hype job, the people that think that Deontay Wilder is a difficult, tactical fighter. So, why did Tyson Fury...
Well, Wilder has never been a tactical fighter, but he is difficult. And the reason why he's difficult is because he is a great athlete. He has one-punch knockout power. So you do have to give Tyson Fury a great amount of credit for defeating Deontay Wilder, because once again, I don't see him as a hype job. A hype job is a Felix Verdejo. A hype job is a David Price. A hype job is an Adrian Broner. And Adrian Broner is like a very good hype job. Those guys are hype jobs. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, they're not hype jobs. And I'm also hearing a lot of the LDBC channels say Lomachenko is a hype job and Golovkin's a hype job, but we already know why they're calling them hype jobs. Let's be real. So it is what it is. But those guys are not hype jobs, Those guys are something that that are boxers that have actually accomplished something. A hype job is a Felix Verdejo. A hype job, in my opinion, is soon going to be a Ryan Garcia. But we'll see what happens with that. Anyway.
We say Deontay Wilder's a one-trick pony. He has a big right hand, and that's it. Because that is the...
And I do agree that he is a one-trick pony. But he's still an A-class fighter.
Truth. That's all Deontay Wilder has is a big right hand. He can't make adjustments. He can't fight on the back foot. He can't do anything. He can't even really defend himself if you apply pressure.
I agree with all those points, especially with fighters that are the same size as him. But the fact that Deontay Wilder has beaten Luis Ortiz and a couple of other okay contenders, you'd have to say that Deontay Wilder most likely is an A-class fighter. You can just tell when a fighter overall is A-class. Deontay Wilder is an A-class fighter, unless it's proven otherwise. If he loses to Andrew Ruiz and Dillian White, then all of a sudden we have to say, okay, well, you know what? Deontay Wilder's probably a B-class fighter. But until then, we'll see what happens.
Let's just be be honest about it. Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony who looks for a big right hand, and if it lands, he can win. If it doesn't, he loses. It's really that simple. This is not rocket science. It's boxing. And then you even see Tyson Fury himself say Deontay Wilder's a lanky, chinless hype job. See, Tyson Fury already told you the truth. He's already told you what you need to know, but you are choosing not to believe it. Tyson Fury's already stated that Deontay Wilder has a chin, has no chin. He's already stated.
Well, if that's actually what you're stating, sir, I heavily disagree. Deontay Wilder, out of the main three heavyweights, and we all know who those are, has the best chin out of all of them. Now, that being said, he is vulnerable to the chin. Not only does he not block it very well, and not only does he really not have a defense to speak of besides using his height and his arms to, reach out and keep them off, to keep people off of him, but he can be hurt to the chin. But that being said, Deontay Wilder probably does have a B+ chin. Anthony Joshua probably has a B- chin, and a certain amount of people might disagree with that. I'll give Deontay Wilder an A-. And a certain amount of people will say, well, Anthony Joshua, a B-. Why would you give him a B- chin? He's very chinny. Anthony Joshua is not as chinny as most people think. He ended up getting his ass whooped in that first Andrew Ruiz fight, But when it comes down to the overall, a big part of the reason why that was because he was not really in great condition. When you take a look at other fights, like the Vladimir Klitschko fight, the Dillian White fight, the Alexander Povetkin fight, all guys that can knock you out, and punch, he was able to take their shots, all right? And someone who can take a straight right from Vladimir Klitschko and then last, basically the rest of the fight and then knock him out later on, that's not someone who has a C-class chin to me. Now, is he a little bit chinny? Yeah, okay. That's why you give him a B-, or if you wanted to, you could say C+. But Joshua's chin is no worse than a C+. It is what it is. I personally would say B- just because Joshua overall, he can be hurt to the chin more than Deontay Wilder and maybe more than a Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury does not have, an A+ chin either. I've seen him hurt by cruiserweights. So it is what it is. But I've seen Anthony Joshua take hits from people that are very decent punchers, and him also take the shots very well. So it is what it is.
That he's a hype job. So if you don't believe me saying he's a hype job, do you believe Tyson Fury saying he's a hype job? But this is the guy you crown as the #1 fighter in the heavyweight division? That's fanboy rhetoric. We got to be honest and unbiased. And then you turn the table and compare Anthony Joshua to Deontay Wilder, who were the two champions at the time. Anthony Joshua was unifying championships against a guy like Joseph Parker, who's an undefeated world champion, who had different styles, who made Anthony...
And listen, I do agree with that. And that's how you know Deontay Wilder was never serious about becoming undisputed in the first place. Not only did he avoid the Joshua fight, but when it came down to it, he never captured another title in his career. Deontay Wilder was never serious about unifying that division. Never.
Joshua not only rely on his power, but his boxing ability. See, Anthony Joshua went 12 rounds that fight and had to box to get the victory. He didn't simply rely on his power. See, that's a versatile champion. That's a guy that has dimensions. That's a unified champion. That's a guy taking on big threats. And this is a guy unifying titles. Deontay Wilder.
And let me tell you something. That's not me saying that AJ would just very clearly beat Deontay Wilder either. That's a 50-50 fight even after Deontay's ass whooping he just received against Tyson Fury earlier this year. But still.
Has never unified a title in his career. But you give a guy the #1 heavyweight division off of beating that hype job? Let's be honest, Anthony Joshua at 18 fights in, only 18 fights in, was beating Vladimir Klitschko in dramatic fashion.
And that is true. His first 20 fights, way greater competition than Deontay Wilder's first 20 fights. And it's really not even close. Actually, Anthony Joshua's, however many fights he has, what is it now, 24? Somewhere around there, somewhere around 24 fights. His whole career, he has fought way greater competitors than Deontay Wilder usually has, and that's just a fact. A lot of people cannot like that. I really don't give a damn. It is what it is. Go ahead and take a look at the rankings, and you tell me who has fought more top-ranked opponents that still remain there today. Anyway.
At 18 fights in, what was Deontay Wilder at 33 wins, 32 knockouts in the W?
And I'm glad he also brought that up because a lot of people don't remember that. Deontay Wilder and Shelly Finkel did turn down a Vladimir Klitschko fight because they said he was not ready. So for a lot of the people overall that claim Deontay was always serious about unifying and all these guys were afraid of Deontay, they really don't know what the hell they're talking about.
BC champion. Shelly Finkel was protecting him, refusing Deontay Wilder to go into the fight with Vladimir Klitschko. These guys wanted to baby a guy with 33 wins and 32 knockouts as the WBC champion. He didn't want the Klitschko smoke. He didn't want to smoke with Klitschko. He didn't want to step in and unify a title. He didn't want to be great. So this is the hype job that was protected for his entire career. This is the hype job that you say you become number one by beating a hype job? Is that it? And then you look at Tyson Fury. Well, you say, well, look at Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury resume must be stacked with a lot of top 5, top 10 fighters. Maybe Tyson Fury is out here fighting the best in between because they cannot solely make him number one off of a Deontay Wilder win.
Well, no, but the problem is that he just not has fought Deontay Wilder. He also beat Vladimir Klitschko in 2015. So, it is what it is.
Who else has he been fighting aside from Deontay Wilder since he's come back? So let's take a look at who Tyson Fury's been fighting since he's come back aside from Deontay Wilder. So one of the first people he fought when he came back aside from Deontay Wilder is Sefer Seferi. And Sefer Seferi is your local Uber driver. This is a garbage truck juice name. Okay, let's keep going. Who did he fight else? He fought Francisco Pianeta. And you might as well call him Francisco Pinata because all he did is sit there and took a beating. And that was garbage truck juice. Who else did he fight? Tom. Nobody.
And the points that he's making here aren't the worst. Because Tyson Fury, besides Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder, really has not fought a lot of the top contenders. But the problem is that he has 2 A+ wins, or at least debatably.
Knows me, Schwartz. That's garbage truck juice. Presented no challenge, required nothing, not a top-level fighter, not accomplished, literally a Uber driver of the division. Okay, who did he cap off all these other fights with? Otto Wallin, another Uber driver, but this one seems to give him a pressurized style that gave Tyson Fury all kinds of hell and opened up a big cut on his face that really should have had the fight stopped. But we'll ignore that. We'll just focus on the fact that Otto Wallin, Tom Schwartz, Francisco Pianeta or Pinata, and, Sefer Seferi.
And that's an example of why fight math never works. Because Otto Wallin is not on the same level as a Deontay Wilder, obviously. And he gave Tyson Fury a lot of trouble in that fight. He cut him open, and if that would have been another fighter, that fight very well could have been stopped because of the cut that was caused around his eye. So many people after that fight, probably including Deontay Wilder himself, probably thought, I'm going to knock out this guy, or that Deontay's going to knock out this guy. And then look what happened. So that always tells you, don't base off of who can win off of just one performance.
All of these guys are garbage truck juice, and yet these are the guys that you have to beat to be the number one heavyweight in the division and a hype job. So beating a bunch of tomato cans and a hype job makes you the number one fighter in the division. How does that make sense? It simply doesn't. And then you see that Anthony Joshua, the work he's been putting in over his last, 5, 6 fights. This guy's fought Andy Ruiz Jr. twice, who's a difficult stylistic matchup for Liv.
But we do have to mention that the reason why Andy Ruiz ended up in the top 10, most likely in the top 5 in the first place, is because Joshua did not do his due diligence, and did not take him seriously the first fight. So it is what it is. Anyway.
Anybody. He's fight, an Alexander Povetkin, Joseph Parker, undefeated, a very difficult stylistic Carlos Takam, and he fought Vladimir Klitschko. This guy has been on a roll, fighting good fighter after good fighter, top fighter after top fighter. So,
and I do agree with that.
At the end of the day, you can't even compare resumes. And not only that, Anthony Joshua doesn't have one belt. He has them all except for one. So we got to be honest. So,
And that's why you could make a debate that Anthony Joshua is actually the best heavyweight in the world. You could debate it. But personally, I would say Tyson Fury.
Beating a high job makes you the number one fighter in the division? Is that what people think? Are people this dumb? Are people this deluded? Are people this confused? We got to be honest and unbiased. See, a lot of people aren't going to like this. A lot of people are going to get in their feelings. But this is facts, not feelings. The facts is Tyson Fury has beaten no one since he's come back He beat no one but Tomato Cans and the Hype Job since he's come back, and they made this guy undoubted the #1 heavyweight in the division. That's garbage truck juice. That's bias media. See, these guys don't want to give you the facts. They're only concerned with their feelings. They're riding off a hype, believing that Deontay Wilder, who's a hype job, was the greatest heavyweight that they've seen in the last decade, which means they don't know anything about boxing. Let's be honest and unbiased. Once again, it's the IBFP.
And that's pretty much about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, do I believe that Deontay Wilder is a hype job? No, I do not. But we are going to see how great he truly is a little bit later on down the line. If he does continue to fight, we'll see what he continues to do. But that's really about it for today. I just thought that I would make a video on that because even though I think Deontay Wilder is not the greatest fighter in the world, when it comes down to it, I certainly wouldn't call him a hype job. And many people are very quick to call certain fighters hype jobs after a loss. It always happens, especially, of recent. Deontay Wilder, I've seen it with him. I've seen it with Anthony Joshua. I've seen it with Andrew Ruiz. I've seen it with, who else? Vasyl Lomachenko, Gennady Golovkin. I've seen it with a couple of others that I probably can't even remember at the moment. But just be a little bit easy when you see it and overall think about who these fighters have actually fought. Because a hype job is a Felix Verdejo, a David Price, an Adrian Broner. And Broner is better than those two fighters, but there's different levels to hype jobs. Anyway, but that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.